Dr. Deb Matthew here with the North Carolina Integrative Medical Society. And also joining me on the call today, we have Bethany Sprague, who is a board member, and Cynthia Phillips. And so as representatives of the board, we are super excited to be introducing you to Matthew Gillogly, who is, he is an entrepreneur who helps us practitioners figure out how to get our practices really successful so that we can have work-life balance, keep the lights turned on, and really grow the practices to the way that we dreamed of when we started in the first place. And we are really excited that he is going to be sharing what he knows with our society members. And so we've got him on today so that we can ask him questions, learn a little bit more so that you can kind of know what to expect, so that you can make sure that you come and join us and really get the benefit of his years of knowledge. So Matt, do you want to start off by sort of telling us a little bit about your story and how you ended up helping practitioners?
By accident. So I used to get queasy walking by a Walgreens, right? Like my first wife was an ER nurse and she'd come home and want to tell me about, all the abscesses that she saw explode and the smell. And I'd be like, no, thank you. I don't want to hear it. And by accident, I got involved in the medical space. I went and took a look at a erectile dysfunction clinic in Birmingham, Alabama in the summer of 2013. And within 2 hours, I was in. The guy that was doing it was teaching people how to open it. I spent $300,000 for him to teach me the business. We opened up our first clinic in Charlotte, North Carolina in January of 2014. Don't worry, we covered our bases. We were totally legit with the medical board. We own the management company. Doctor owned the practice, Dr. Hansen, still in business today. It's the Carolina Men's Clinic. We grew it from startup to 3 locations in 18 months, doing about $6.5 million a year, all fixing men's erections. To which always leads to the question, how did I get involved in the erectile dysfunction business? And my quippy answer is, I'm just passionate about men's erections. But yeah, I sold my interest in those in 2017. The business is still out there today. They're still doing well. And then I started coaching practice owners around the US and Canada. My first client was Dr. Mickey Barber, who owns Better Life Carolinas here in Charlotte and Charleston. She is still a client today. We've helped her grow massively. And today, like I said, we have clients all over the US and Canada. And I think, here, I'll just say this. If I can go on my soapbox real quick. I think one of the great travesties that's happening in America is the disrespect financially that we give doctors and medical professionals. When was the last time you saw your lawyer say, buy 1 hour, get 2 hours free, right? When was the last time your CPA dropped their rates? And the insanity's got to stop. And I believe that if we want to continually have a free and healthy healthcare system, we need to have as many physicians, NPs, PAs, medical professionals out there opening up cash-based practices, doing anti-aging, FM, all of it regenerative, because if we don't, then we're going to wind up with a really crappy healthcare system. And my mission is to help you all understand the fundamentals of business. It's not about lead generation. It's not about that. And that's what I'm going to share when we're together is the reason why your business may not be as successful as you want is you're violating the basic fundamentals of business, which allows you to run a laundromat, a physician's office. I mean, I know very little about medicine, Deb. We just
want to help people.
Yeah,
we just want to help people and be nice.
Right. And I want you to help people and I want you to make money and get paid what you're worth. That's what I want. So that's my mission.
Yeah. And, I think a lot of us, it's like we're not even in it to make money, but at least we would like to, be able to have a salary and survive, and be able to hire staff so that we can have some work-life balance. And that's really hard. It's hard when you have your own practice. There's so much that we don't know.
Yeah. And I would see it, I would go talk with these other doctors and I would go to these events and they'd be like, so what are you doing a month? Like, what kind of revenue are you doing a month? Oh, we had a good month last month. We did 30,000. I'm like, so how about you? And I go, we did 250 at one location. And they're like, wait, for the month? And I go, yeah. Well, how are you getting leads in? And I would explain to them and they'd be like, oh my God, what? And then I explain what we're charging and they'd be like, what? And, I quickly realized doctors have had as much business training in college as I've had medical training, which for me was zero, right? And it's not your fault, but the good news is if you can learn physiology and anatomy, and you can learn organic chemistry, you can learn the fundamentals of business because it's infinitely easier. Trust me.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
we don't know what we don't know.
Right. Yeah. Well put. Well put.
I have a quick question for you, Matthew.
Mhm.
We have a very wide range of NCIMS members and, people who have virtual practices, people who have in-person practices. And I'm just curious, who is your ideal client to work with?
Well, my clients really fall into a couple of different categories. One, their specialty doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter at all to me. I've worked with them all. I've worked with PAs, non-medical people that own practices, anesthesiologists, surgeons, pain management, naturopaths. Like, I've worked with just about everything I can think of. The biggest thing that I look for is they really need to have that desire to grow the practice and not just try to like delegate that growth, right? And Deb's, for the record, Deb is not a client of mine, but I've watched Deb's practice grow, right? And, you can tell when somebody is doing the right things, and Deb does the right things, right? Like you can tell she's putting the work in. I'll see her at the events. You can tell she's a student of business. And, the biggest thing I look for is somebody who is tired of struggling and wants to become a student of how to run a great practice, how to make money, do some of that deeper work about what you should charge and things like that. Because those are all the key fundamentals to be able to grow a practice, any business, and make it grow. Does that answer your question, I hope?
Yep, it sure does. The learner's mind.
Gotta have it, right? Because look, you didn't get through med school without a learner's mind, right? I mean, how did you survive? How'd you survive all of that?
Yeah.
You know?
There's a lot of learning. So how do you, when you're working with people, how do you help them?
So it all starts with, I believe in systems. Okay. So I suffer from ADHD and I have done 5 startups. My staff now is international. I have interest in at least 6 other clinics. We're actually getting ready to add a bunch more right after this call. But the thing is that you have to have systems. Okay. So when we're together in November, I'm going to teach everybody what's called our stairway system. And the first part of the stairway system is what we call the beachhead. And I'm going to go into more detail, but basically you really need to be known for one thing in the market. Now you can do a lot of other things behind that, but you need to be known for like a thing. Like we were known for erectile dysfunction. Okay. And now we did hair restoration. We did HRT. We did penile enhancement. We fixed Peyronie's. We did all of that. Right. But our front end was ED, okay? Then the next thing that has to happen is we have to educate and excite our prospects so that they'll know, like, and trust. See, the sale doesn't happen when they walk in. The sale happens prior to when they come in, okay? So how can we leverage video or books or articles, like all of these things, so that by the time people get on, they're actually like meeting a rock star. Right? When they meet Deb, they're like, oh my gosh, I finally met Deb. Okay. It's the way I felt in Vegas when we finally met. And then, then we have to convert them. And this is one of the harder things is that, I got asked this question yesterday when I was doing a consult with Dr. Barber's orthopedist she just brought on. And he goes, well, should I do the sales? And I said, well, that depends. I said, would you be okay with me doing ACL surgery on your knee? And he said, no. And I said, well, then you shouldn't be selling. Okay. So if you have to, I've got a 9-question script that you can follow. I certainly have some doctors that sell, but what we want to be able to do is we want to create signature solutions and charge premium pricing. Okay. We're not Walmart. We're not going to offer discount. Like, we don't want to be the low price leader. That's the game. The name of the game in business is margin. Okay. And then on top of that, we want to build a monthly recurring revenue that generates, that covers all your operating expenses, including payroll. So you don't have to worry about it. I have some clients that generate over $250,000 a month in monthly recurring revenue. It's over 75% of their revenues. During the pandemic, those numbers went up. And then, at the top, we can create these 1% offers. So you'll notice never in there did I talk about Facebook advertising. Never in there did I talk about you need to be blogging or doing this or doing that. Those are all tactics. And what you're doing is you're probably focusing on tactics to grow your business, but you don't have a clear strategy and a clear plan with which to execute, right? Like you can't go to Anatomy 2 until you finish Anatomy 1, right? I mean, you can't bypass it, right? Because one builds upon the other. It's the same thing with our system. You've got to take each step. You go through in your master, and once people grasp that and they do the work, it starts to kick in. We've had clinics go from startup to $100,000+ a month in 9 months routinely. My best story is a guy who was at $30,000 a month. Within 4 months, we took him to, they're doing routinely $225,000 a month.
Wow.
225. He hasn't been in 6 weeks. They've turned his office into storage. So that's
Matthew, I
that's
have
pretty
a
fast.
question.
Yep.
Oops. Hi, this is Cynthia Phillips. You
Yes,
had
Cynthia.
mentioned before that when you had started up practice that you were making sure that you stayed legitimate with the medical board. Is that part of the guideline that you help with when you do coaching?
We can. I mean, I'm clearly not an attorney, although I've paid them
Right.
all a lot of money over the years. So, yeah, we have. So, the way we structured it is obviously the doctor has to own the practice, right? When we want to be, look, I'm not looking to, I always joke, the only time I want a federal agent coming into my house is when my really good friend, the FBI agent, comes over to watch college football. That's the only time I want the federal agents knocking on my door. So we structured it is we use management services organization. And I have shared those documents with my clients. And there is a specific structure on how you do that. But again, I have to preface this. I'm not an attorney. I'm not giving legal advice. And you would want to run everything. If you were a client of mine and I shared those with you, you'd want to run everything by your lawyer. So, but I will tell you the top healthcare attorney in the Southeast wrote all my stuff and we paid dearly for it. And we have clients using it all over the US and it's withstood a lot of attorney review. So
when you do this event for NCIMS, what are you going to be talking about or what will we be learning?
So the first thing I want everybody to know is you're going to get a plan. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to dive into, it'll be 4-ish hours. It might be a little bit longer. And I'm happy to stay a little bit longer if people want. But what we're going to do is we're going to dig into, we're going to set up this system for everybody. Now, I believe in simplicity. Okay. So we run all of our practices on what we call our one-page plan. It's literally a one-page plan that every member on the team has, and we use that to grow and scale the practice. Okay. When it comes to scaling, it's about less is more. It's not about more is going to give you more. How can we simplify and eliminate all the distractions? Okay. So when we do that, so you're going to walk out with a very simple 90-day plan. In addition to that, I'm going to share with you the concept of key performance indicators in your scorecard, and I will share those metrics to you and how to track it, because this is how I run businesses all over the US. I literally have dashboards for every single one of my partner clients, and I can tell you how their business is doing each and every single week. And so you're going to get, this isn't just going to be me talking, this is going to be you doing. We're going to do some breakouts, right? We're going to dive into maybe some limiting beliefs that you may have about your business, about your ability, about your skill set, about what your business can be, about what you can charge. And I've coached literally over 4,000 business owners in 5 continents and God knows 30+ industries. So there's probably not a problem I haven't run into that we can dive into. Okay. And I promise you will get tremendous value from this. Plus everybody that registers, I'm going to send you a copy of my book. So you'll have a chance to read the book before we come, all that good stuff. And look, I want your businesses killing it. Okay. I want as many people in America knowing about what the great medicine that we have access to. Because frankly, I get disgusted that the insurance companies just made $16 billion with a B dollars this last year. It makes me want to vomit. So, and I'll step back off the soapbox.
So I've been over the last year trying to put key performance indicators into the practice. And I never heard of that before. Like I didn't know what that was. I bet there's a lot of people who are going to come that don't actually know what it is. And then even if they know what it is, so I learned what it was, and that was great and everything, but it was really hard to figure out what should those be. And
Mhm.
So I think that there's a lot of concepts that sound like they will be really useful and practical and implementable and just change how we do things and think about things that I think will be really, really beneficial.
Deb, if I could just jump in. So, and I use this analogy, a key performance indicator is a patient's blood panel. So Deb, if you got a blood panel from somebody in Thailand, right? Weren't able to lay hands on the patient, and you looked at their blood panel and their A1C1 was 6, their weight was 250, they were 5'7", they were male, they had triglycerides of 500, cholesterol of 300, LDLs of 300 and HDLs of like 20, right?
Yeah.
You'd be able to put together a protocol to get them straight, wouldn't you?
Yes, even with that, with just knowing that information, we would have a lot of ideas of what we could do to help.
Yeah. Well, your business is the same way. I can walk into any business and I can ask a couple of questions and I can tell you, I can get pretty close to how much money you're leaving on the table. Okay. And so I'm not going to tell everybody what those key KPIs are now, because I want you to come to the class, because I want you to know how to use them. Right. And if I always joke, if I can learn how to read a blood panel, and I can read a basic one. I can read a hormone panel. There's some of those things I don't know what the hell they are, but I can read it. You can learn how to do this. Okay. So, and this is really critical because I've run businesses while I've been on vacation in Europe and call my team and go, we're missing this mark. We got to fix this. We're not following the script. They go, yep, you're right. We are already on it. Fix, next day, numbers back up. Okay. So this is stuff you can check daily, weekly. Weekly's optimal right now, probably for most practices, and I'll show you how to do that.
So I have a question for you. I think that a lot of people who practice integrative medicine, functional medicine, are really, really heart-centered. And most of us walked away from a really reasonable, guaranteed salary job in order to go foray into these waters where there was no guarantee of income and, but it fulfilled our heart. We feel good about what we do. We just want to help people. It feels uncomfortable to talk about money. We don't really want to be like charging people a lot of money. We just want to be helping people. And that, makes it hard for us to run our practices because it feels so much better to give things away. So how do you help people who want to be able to make a living and help people in this way, but it feels unsavory to kind of talk about money?
Well, money does make the world go round. Okay. And money is not an evil thing. Money is a wonderful thing. Right. I mean, you've got how many kids in college, Deb? Right? 1, 2, 4. God bless you. Oh my gosh.
State school.
Yeah. Mine went to Furman and TCU, so it was like having 4 in college at the same time. To be able to provide for your children, to be able to secure your retirement. Look, I like nice things, right? But whether it's a lake house or whether it's a couple million in your retirement account, if you aren't a sustainable business, you are not going to be able to stay in business and be able to provide these services. And what's going to happen is you will get crushed and your business will close down. And then you're going to have to go back to work. And, as I tell my California clients, God forbid you go work for Kaiser Permanente. That's like medical purgatory. So, you have to learn how to do this, and you've got to learn how to charge something so that you can pay yourself a significant wage. You can secure your retirement. You can pay off your mortgage. I mean, you don't want to be a burden on your kids, right?
And hire a team so that you can take a vacation.
Hire a team. You're helping people. Like, Deb, I bet, the number of people in your team, I'm sure you've hired some people that knew nothing about our world that all of a sudden are now exposed to it and they become advocates for it. I've seen Mickey do that. I've seen Nicole Garcia, Mark Hawaz, Dr. Pietropoli, all of these folks, like their team is just like, oh my gosh, I had no idea how bad our insurance-based medical system was, right? They don't know these things. And so they really become advocates in the marketplace with their friends and their families. And that just kind of continues to snowball, right? So but you've got to run a profitable business. You got to stay in business and look, providing jobs, helping patients, they all go hand in hand. You can't give it away.
Yeah. Another thing that I see happening a lot, and certainly this has been me too, is we work ourselves to the bone. And so on the one hand, we're telling our patients they need to reduce their stress and they need to do, exercise and do all the right things. And then on the other hand, we're like just running around trying to take care of all of our patients and our staff, and like we're exhausted and we're not taking care of ourselves because we, put ourselves last. And I would argue perhaps women are even worse at that, putting ourselves last even than men. I don't know, but another benefit of being able to at least having a safe, secure, profitable practice is that you can take care of yourself. And of course, you can do such a better job taking care of your patients if you can take care of yourself. And if you're not stuck in survival mode, it gives you the space then too to kind of pick yourself up a little bit outside of your practice and help in the community, promoting wellness, or, some of the other things that you could do so that you can have much greater impact than just always sitting one-on-one across the table with patients. So
yeah, look, we know what the science says about sleep, right? And yet you come from your background as a doctor has been, so the whole experience of med school and residency is work as much as you can and sleep as little as you can. It's like a badge of honor. But yet really what you're doing is you're treating patients. If you are under 6 hours of sleep on a regular basis, it's equivalent of having a blood alcohol level of 0.08. Well, how is that a benefit? Like, I don't want to do anything. I don't even want to talk to my clients when I'm drunk, let alone, try and make them healthy,
Yeah.
So you have to, like, this whole belief that, working 20 hours, working 7 days a week, that's just not real. It's not good. It's not healthy. The science tells us differently. And when I can get my doctors to walk away from their business, when I get them to take 1 day off a week, no cell phone, you're not allowed to look at charts. You can't, none of that stuff, right? None of the stuff that we do, right? Charts are done before you leave, okay? Their businesses start to go like this because they are shutting their brain down for 24 hours. And I get them to do their hobby, whatever they love to do. So like Dr. Garcia goes to the Balboa Bay Club in Newport and she does paddleboarding. And, Mark Hawaz takes his family on a week-long vacation every quarter, right? Or like a 5-day vacation every quarter. I mean, I got Trevor Buccieri, and he's not a doctor, he's a me, but I got him to stand back away from his practices. And the less he goes in, the more his practice scales, right?
I have had that experience this year too. When I cut back the number of days that I spend on patient care, the practice is growing so fast that I have to hire more practitioners.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I bet with your travel schedule that you were talking about, I bet when if we connect in December, when you get back from everything, I'm going to bet that your business has just exploded in a good way, not in a bad way.
We'll
right?
see. We'll see.
It'll be fine. You'll do great.
Yeah.
You got the systems in place,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and I'll just say this. So I'll say this one last thing. So I have a doctor who's in South Atlanta. She works with lower income, African-American population. In her market, the 2 urgent cares and the 3 other family practices have closed. And she goes, I think I'm going to have to close. I said, don't close. Just view your family practice 2 days a week as a nonprofit for the community, but let's get you. And she's even selling like neuropathy treatments at a premium rate to her client base. And she's making more doing that 3 days a week than she would make like a month doing insurance-based care. So she can still provide to her community. And we view that what that is. That's volunteer work. She'll never make money doing it. And she loves it because that's her community. She's been in there for 30 years, but now she's finally able to pay herself what she's worth. So
Yeah.
win-win.
That sounds awesome. And it's nice that she can still do what her heart, makes her feel good.
Yeah.
A lot of our members don't participate with insurance, but one of the things that you definitely do help people with is if somebody is still in an insurance model and they would like to think about transitioning out, that is something that you help people with. Is that right?
Yep. Yep. We have a whole program where we can cut that cord within 90 days. Because when you really do the analysis of it, it's a horrible business model. You put out all the money and you get paid later. And, they just announced another, 4.5% reduction in insurance rates. They're going to jack rates 18%, but they're going to cut your reimbursement rate another 4.5%. So, it's a horrible business model. It's
Good for the insurance companies.
Oh yeah, it's great for the insurance companies. It's awesome for the hospital groups. I mean, we've created our own Americanized version of a single payer system. It's just, a capitalist version. But we just have to, if you are in that, look, I want people to have options. Okay. And, some people do a 50-50 model. They do a blended model. Some want out, most want out. I don't think I had that. I only have a couple people left doing a blended model because it's gotten so bad. But, if you have an existing insurance practice or you're kind of in that 50-50 mode, we can get you out in 90 days.
What about people who don't have a practice? They want to start their practice, but they're like really literally starting from scratch.
All the more reason to be there, because what you'll do when I work with practices that are starting from the ground up, the ones that are successful that make it are generating revenue before they open. So that's Tracy Page, that's Cassie and Heidi. That was Mark Hawaz, that was Trevor. So you have to, here's what most doctors do is they go, okay, let's go get a machine. Let's get a place. I got to hire a bunch of staff and train them first. Then let's start the marketing. My answer is start the marketing first. Do telemedicine. Do what you can from a telemedicine standpoint. If you want to do treatments, go see if you can sublet room at like a med spa or something like that. And let's get some revenue coming in, because revenue is key. Then you can go buy your C-arm or whatever you want to go buy. But that's the whole thing is, any of my doctors that we are starting from square one, I want them marketing and bringing in revenue before they sign their first lease.
And do you help them
Okay.
figure out what to do for that marketing?
Yep, you bet. Absolutely. And look, I'm marketing agnostic and I'm procedure agnostic. It doesn't matter to me what the procedure is. It doesn't matter to me how you want to market. There are some things that you can do. Most people woefully underinvest in their marketing. And then when they invest in the wrong things. They put all their eggs into one basket. Marketing is, in the world of medicine, doctors want everything to be certain. In the world of marketing, we do like 50% is winning, right? Like it's, that's the big challenge. Like in your world, if you have a 50% failure rate, you're going to be out of business and you're going to be, you're going to lose your license. In my world in marketing, they're building you a statue, right? That's you're like, oh my God, 50% win rate. You're awesome, right? So we just have to work through that. And I really work to protect my clients so that they don't get hurt and exposed.
Cool. Cindy and Bethany, do you have other questions that you want to ask before we wrap up?
I don't have anything specific. Thank you, Matthew, for your time. Thank you for hosting this.
You got it.
Thank you very much, Matthew.
You got it. I look forward to seeing y'all. And Deb, I know you'll be out of town, but when you get back, we'll grab a cup of coffee or something. Okay.
And if people want to find out more and they want to hear more and learn more about you, where can they go to learn more? I know I've been listening to your podcasts.
So the best thing is a podcast. Go to the practiceprofitsystem.com. That's the practiceprofitsystem.com. And from the podcast, you can opt in. You can also, on the podcast, there's an offer on my book. You all will be getting my book for those of you that register for the event. I'll be giving that to you for free. But the Practice Profit System is the best place to go. Most of the recordings are like 9 to 12 minutes in length, because I wanted to make it something that you can listen to between patients or on a quick ride home. Okay. So I look forward to seeing everybody in November.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.